Hello, my name is Yann Liqueur-Salzédo. I'm a FileMaker developer in France for years. I'm a regular speaker in many FileMaker conferences, most of the time in design subjects like user experience and user interface design. This video today is about data visualization and various solutions to represent different types of information visually. Data visualization is a way to present information for a better and a quicker understanding. For example, instead of a table of figures, it's way more easy for your user to see a nice colored graph. For a long time, data visualization techniques was applied to numbers only with business charts or business graphs. Since few years ago, with HTML5 and the usage of open source JavaScript libraries in a web viewer, it's way easier to use data visualization techniques to present all kinds of information like dates and locations in our FileMaker solution. The most common usage of data visualization is for numbers with business charts or graphs. Natively, FileMaker offers a tool to build various kinds of graphs, like bars, pie, line graphs, and more. FileMaker native tool is not the only choice you have. It's the easiest one for a beginner or if you want to work fast. But if you need a little bit of control on the chart's design, like the color or the shapes, or if you really need charts that FileMaker doesn't provide, you can use open source JavaScript library. My favorite one is Chart.js. It's a free library you can use in any kind of FileMaker solution, offline with FileMaker Pro, FileMaker Go, or even with FileMaker Web Direct. Chart.js is fully documented, and you don't need to be an HTML expert to understand how to add this tool into your solution. It's a little bit of a work in hours, not in days. Most of the customers ask for dashboards again and again. With FileMaker native tool or with an open source product like Chart.js, you can create the crème de la crème in data visualization with dynamic dashboards. I mean, dashboards with charts that update after a record is changed in your solution. This is a dashboard for one of my solutions running on an iPad with FileMaker Go. It's a solution for sales team. From top to bottom and left to right, they need to see the global sales. This is a purple square with a line by month. With the aqua chart, you have a pie with the 8 best sales by products per year. The blue square summarizes the quantity of new customers per month. In the middle, the pink square displays the sales progress against goal per month. The green square displays the visits progress against goal per month. And the red chart at the bottom displays with a bar graph the expenses per month. On the right side, you have the file distribution by category, potential, and area. All these charts are made with Chart.js in the FileMaker solution. As you've seen in the previous screen, there is various charts or graphs available. But the most common mistake is to use a bad representation for your data or a wrong chart. You have a lot of different graphs with FileMaker native tools, or even more with open source library like Chart.js. But you have to understand that you can't use just anything at all the time. We're gonna see in the next chapter the common types of business graphs and when to use them. Data visualization is the way to use the right graph, the right picture to deliver the right message. The first kind of chart I'm going to present here is the pie and donut charts, how and when using them. This is a real-life example of a part of a FileMaker solution where a sales representative tracks his expenses by category. With a quick look on his iPhone, the user can understand the biggest expense items for a period of time. So you understand that a pie is a better choice to visualize proportional data or to present percentages. A pie graph is great to show the distribution of a single variable. In the FileMaker lingo, we say a series of data. You can use pie graph to present product sales in a period of time or sales by area. But this chart is not a choice when you have two variables and more. For example, if you want to present product per area in a period of time, it's better to use a bar chart, which is my next chapter. So the second most common kind of graph is the bar chart with many subcategories like horizontal or vertical bar charts, regular, grouped, or stacked by bar charts. This is again a real FileMaker solution running on an iPhone to track sales. My customer has 5 shops in 4 different cities, and he wanted to track anytime the sales per shop and globally. The FileMaker Go solution was a good answer for mobility, and data visualization technique was mandatory when you have hundreds of operations per days and thousands per week. In this screen, you can see in a bar chart sales per day for a specific week for the shop in the city of Nice. With bar chart, you can display one or several series at the same time. You have all kinds of distribution possible by time, day, month of year, by persons, by products. It's up to you. Another example here, I have a distribution of sales per state in America. Once again, I use chart.js, so I need a specific syntax I display here. I have a series of data for labels. I have another series of data for numbers. And I have a last series for the color of each bar. So with Chart.js, I can focus on a specific piece of information, like DC in my example, with a unique red color for the bar. Stacked bars and grouped bars are a way to display several series at the same time. So in this example, the grouped bar is a good choice to present different kind of information, like in dark, my goal, and in white, the real sales over a period of time. It's easy this way to compare in the same time goals versus sales and the evolution over a period of 6 years. The bar chart is a good way to present several groups of data sets, or as we said in FileMaker, several series of data. This screen is a good summary of what data visualization is. At the top, there is a classic table of figures, and at the bottom, the same data in a graphic way, in a chart, faster to understand. It's about sales, grouped by category of hospital, where each color represents a type of surgery. The third kind of chart I present today is the line chart. This screenshot presents a typical line chart with two series of data. The red line presents the cumulative sales over a year, and the blue line presents the cumulative sales of the previous year. So in the same graphs, you can compare this year versus the previous one. The line chart is good to present trends, or if you want to focus on the progression. This example presents the curve of sales by hourly slices based on the invoice timestamp. You can compare several products, several sales guides, several markets with various data sets with different series of data. There is not limit. The next chart is the scatter chart. This is a screenshot of a scatter chart. This kind of chart is good to present relationships between data, between information. This is another example of a scatter chart. The point shows the relationship between two sets of data. It could be exotic, like ice cream sales versus eats. In this example, the local ice cream shop keeps track of how much ice cream they sell versus the noon temperature on that day. We have so many ways to present numbers in charts. I just present the most common chart. The next slide will present more exotic chart. With tool like Chart.js, we can build really complex graphs. I will present some example here. First of all, the waterfall chart. With this kind of graph, we can explain how with 4 products, we are going from 50K sales to 60K sales in a period of time. And we can focus on each product and we can present the product growth in green and a loss in red. Another kind of really complex graph we can build with a tool like Chart.js are the combo graph. Combo means that we can add in the same graph different kind of charts, bar charts and line charts in the same graph, for example. This very complex graph presents a lot of information in the same time. The y-axis represents sales amount and the x-axis represents time. This is for a pharmaceutical solution, and we try to track information about sales. For a specific hospital, the purple bars present sales per month with the cumulative sales presented by a line. And at the same time, the red mark indicates the first visit. The yellow mark, the product referencing date. Number indicates how many days since the previous stage. The green mark represents the first order of the product. And the black mark, the first 2 consecutive months to reach the goal. It's very complex, but everything is dynamic. If a value changes in my FileMaker record, like a new sale, everything is updated and the chart is updated. Data visualization for numbers is common, but you can use this technique with many different kinds of information, like the dates. Dates and time are all around our solutions. The most common scenario is when you have to manage events. Presenting your dates in a graphical way is presenting the chronology of events. The 2 most common ways to graphically present events are in a calendar, like the one we have on Mac called iCal, or in a scheduler, also called a planning view. This is an example of a scheduler view. The purpose here is to create relationships between events and resources. It could be rooms and events, or projects and tasks, or people and tasks. Once again, I use a JavaScript library and a web viewer to add a full drag and drop calendar into my FileMaker solutions. The library I use is called Full Calendar. This is the Full Calendar web page. Take your time and have a look at the documentation to understand all the possibilities of this tool. This is once again a real live FileMaker solution. This is a project management solution. You have a calendar on the right side. Each event is in fact a real FileMaker record. The calendar view is a graphic presentation of my events in a period of time, here a week. Events can be modified by a manual drag and drop in the calendar view, or the calendar view can be updated if the FileMaker record is changed somewhere by another user. When you create or move an event by drag and drop in the calendar view, you trigger a script at the end of the process to update your FileMaker record. I'm talking about interactions between the JavaScript calendar and the FileMaker records. It can seem tricky. Before FileMaker 19, you have to use the FNP URL protocol to trigger your FileMaker script. Since FileMaker 19, you have new script steps, new JavaScript functions to make these interactions easier. Another FileMaker solution I present, this is a real solution for a school. The user finds the look and feel of a regular calendar. It's much more intuitive. He can click and drag to create or resize an event. He can click and drag to move an event, and he can click to open an event. So it works really like a regular calendar app. You also have all the usual view per day, week, or month. You even can customize these views, like if you want to create a 5 business days view. We have for many years different tools to build real calendar in our FileMaker solution, so it is impossible to reply today to a customer that we cannot integrate a calendar into a FileMaker solution. So to implement a full calendar into our solution, it's a dozen of text files you have to store into your solutions, into global fields, for example. This way, you don't have to be online or connected to any services to use this tool. If the usual representation of dates is the calendar, you have to know that there are other ways to present events in time. I spoke earlier about scheduler. This is the same full calendar tools with planning functionalities. In my school example, I have on the left the presentation of resources. Here I have rooms grouped by floor, and the color boxes represented courses over time. In this example, resources and the events are FileMaker records, and the JavaScript library is only a tool to display this record in a planning or a calendar. The third visual representation of events over time are common in project management application. This is the Gantt charts. To make it simple, a regular Gantt chart presents relationships between parent and child events. If you change an event, the children events are updated. This is an example of a very simple open source library called Frappe Gantt. Here, in this example, you see different stage of development process. I can start the test stage at the end of my development period, but if I increase the development time, all my children tasks will be shifted automatically. This is the URL of this library. It's really easy to use. Once again, it is a drag and drop UI. You manipulate tasks directly on screen, and it is way more intuitive than editing dates in FileMaker records. So data visualization in this scenario, it's a way to make things simpler to understand and to interact with. So I encourage you to try these tools, not only for numbers, but with all kinds of data. Data visualization to present locations. For many years, we are used to interact with maps on our desktop or our iOS devices. It is also possible to add the same functionality to our FileMaker solutions. Data visualization with locations is the ability to present addresses on a map or to present custom markers related to data, and also to mix statistics with maps like sales figures per area. The third job is to implement a map. You have to use a web service or an API like Google Maps to display this map into your FileMaker solutions into a web viewer. We also need the coordinates of the records of your FileMaker records. You need the latitude and longitude to display them on your map. This is the layout view of a web viewer with a bit of HTML code connected to the Google Map API. Every mapping service has a developer area or an API area fully documented. So you have to choose one service and carefully read this documentation. You have to know some basics of HTML and a little bit of CSS for the style of your map, but it's not so complicated. This is one of my solutions where my customer can track ongoing maintenance. Each marker represents a specific engine to track, and a click on a marker shows a pop-up window with more information about the engine and the customer. Google Maps make very popular the geolocation service on the internet, but you can find more providers to that. One of the competitor is Leaflet. This is an example of a Leaflet integration. A group of markers is represented by a cluster. When you zoom in, the group gives you a more detailed view of these markers, these different locations. So a good alternative to Google Maps is Leaflet in addition with OpenStreetMap. You have other services like Mapbox, for example. This is the Leaflet web page. Another way to use data visualization techniques when we talk about locations is to use custom markers according to specific data into your FileMaker solutions. This is a final example in this chapter. I present different different category of customers with a specific color of the markers. And these colors are based on the status or on some attributes of my FileMaker records. My last chapter before my conclusion. I can use data visualization not only for data. I can use data visualization technique to present some processes, some business processes. And I will give an example on the next slide. I'm sharing now something I did a few years ago to represent complex processes in a sales module into a FileMaker solution. This is a screenshot of a solution I did a few years ago for a customer here in France. This screen is a part of the sales module. On the left side of the screen, you see a visual representation of sales process for this specific project. You see on the left some icons, square, triangle, circle, and branches. This is a graphic representation, a dynamic graphic representation of the sales process I will explain later. In my scenario for this customer, you can have one order and several delivery and several invoices, one per delivery. So a linear representation wasn't enough. I need to present in a graphic a quite complex flow of actions. So as usual, I starting with a sketch to find some ideas. I was looking for a good solution to present this complex flow of process. I decided to create specific icons for each step in my process. The sales process started by a proposal. After I have a purchase order, a delivery form, an invoice, and maybe a credit note. I also needed branches and arrows to show the parent and child relationships. So I built all these icons and put it into my FileMaker solutions. But the various data I wanted to illustrate was in different tables. So the solution group in one virtual list all the information related to a specific sale. So you have to be comfortable with virtual list. This is the screenshot of a virtual list that groups all the data related to a specific sale. The same screen in layout view. You can see on the left a portal. This portal is related to the virtual list, and all the icons I need use conditions to be displayed or not. This is the way I can show the different steps. Each row in my portal represents a step. So at the end, I can see any steps in my sale process translated into a visual form. In the same time, I use these icons as buttons to navigate into specific tabs. If I want to go, for example, from the invoice to the order, I can do that with just a click. So this is another example, the last one, of data visualization, but not only for numbers, as usual. You can represent anything, basically anything, with a visual. The benefits of data visualization, 2 slides to conclude. So, as I said, and as I proved earlier, a visual, a graph, is easier to read than a bunch of data, a bunch of numbers. You can see more easily important information, important facts. It's much more easy to your user to understand a lot of information in a quick way. But above all, data visualization is, as a developer, more a state of mind. You have to question yourself how you can translate information into a visual, and you have to practice. And remember, as usual in interface design, keep it simple and take care of any detail of any pixel. Thank you.